This is the real reason you're not losing weight, even though it feels like you're trying. You're doing the workouts, you're starting to eat better, but you're still not seeing change, and it is frustrating as hell. In this video, I'm going to break down to you the most common things that I see with people when it comes to not seeing the change that they want to see, even though it feels like they're doing everything right. So the first thing is around the knowledge and the noise that there's out there. You're seeing things daily on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Google about glucose spikes, fasting, don't eat carbs, don't drink water, don't eat food, stop eating by this certain time, try this, try that, and it is confusing. And I'm confused by it as well. So I think the first thing that most people need to come to realize is, what do I actually need to focus on? What are the key things that are going to move the needle forward for me to see the change that I want to see? So I'm going to break this down for you nice and simple. These are the exact things that you need to focus on to move the needle forward when it comes to seeing changes in your weight. Forget about the noise. Forget about all of those random things that you're seeing. These are the only things that you need to focus on. So the first thing is, if you're trying to lose some body fat, you want to be in a calorie deficit. We also want to make sure that we're consistently training. So we want to, for most people, train around about 3 times per week. And we want to make sure that's strength training. We want to make sure our daily movement is decent. We want to make sure that we're sleeping and hydrating well. And finally, we actually want to make sure the stuff that we're eating is good. It's whole, it's nutritious, and it's not processed. For a lot of you watching this video, you should know what that looks like. You know, a 5-year-old could actually tell you the difference between something that's healthy and not healthy. We want to be sticking to those things that are healthy majority of the time. Now, once we sort of laid out those basics, how does that actually fit into someone's life? Because again, for a lot of you, hearing that, it's not a light bulb moment. It's not new information. A lot of people know that they need to focus on those things. So the problem that I find a lot of people having is the disconnect between, okay, these are the things that I need to focus on. How do I actually fit that into my lifestyle? Now, I'm going to base this off of working with over 500 people now and what the majority of them find works for them, okay? So let's take those concepts of the calorie deficit, of strength training, of daily movement, of sleep, hydration, and eating good food, and let's slot it into your individual lifestyle, okay? First, training and daily movement. I personally feel for most busy individuals who are working full-time, running businesses, parents, the best time to train is first thing in the morning when the rest of the family is asleep, or during a lunch break. This way, it's out of the way early in the day because you know that after work, you're gonna have to do more important things like look after the kids, log back into work, or sort out your dinner, do the food shop, do the housework. These things are gonna take over. So if you can get these bigger tasks done earlier in the day when there's less distraction, i.e. when everyone's asleep, it's just gonna mean you're gonna tick it off. So we figured out that, we would probably wanna train early in the day, or we probably wanna train at lunchtime. The next thing that you wanna do is put it into your calendar. This is another big area where I see people go wrong all of the time. They kind of go into the week telling themselves, you know what, this week I'm gonna train 3 times, but they don't really set any intentions behind it. So what I want you to do is literally open up your calendar app, go into Google, Apple, whatever calendar app you're using, and just put down when you're gonna train that week, okay? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 a.m. to 6:45. Put it in the calendar like it's an appointment with yourself. Be precise with it. The more precise you are, the greater chance it is that you will turn up to it, rather than just telling yourself, I'm gonna train 3 times this week. The next thing we come to is your food. So training, we figured out. We're putting it in the calendar. We are going in with intention, and we're making sure that we're trying to get it done earlier in the week, okay? With your food, the calorie deficit, okay? Really, really simple. Just hop online, www.affinitycoaching.uk/calories. You can log on, put in your height, your weight, your activity levels, your gender, and your age, and it will tell you exactly how many calories you need to drop body fat. Once you have that number, you want to create a meal plan for yourself based on that calorie number, so you're actually adhering to it, okay? The easiest way to do this is pick 3 breakfast options, pick 3 lunch options, and pick 10 different dinner options. Now with these options, keep them healthy, but also keep them aligned to what you and your family are doing already, okay? The idea over here is not to change your life and turn it upside down. We want to keep the meals nice and structured and similar to what you're already doing so that you can go in each day and do it again. Yeah, at the end of the day, you want to be going, that was a good day. I can do that again tomorrow. Rather than, oh, you know what? That sucked. I can't do another day of this. The idea is to keep those meals realistic to what you would eat with your family, okay? To what you would eat on a day-to-day, month-by-month. Now, you might be thinking, how, okay? Well, let's use the example of a pasta. Okay? You make a pasta for the family. How can we align this to your personal calories and your personal goals? It could be as simple as bulking out the pasta with a bunch of veg, but using less actual pasta. So now we've increased the veg in the meal, but we've kind of reduced the portion of the pasta because we're using less, okay? It could then mean that rather than grating half of the block of cheese into it, we only use a little bit of cheese. And finally, it could mean rather than having garlic bread on the side, we're using a side salad. We're still keeping the family favorite meal over here, the pasta, but we're making adjustments to it so that it's more aligned to your goals, okay? This way, you're not cooking 3 different meals for the husband, for yourself, and for the kids. You're still eating the family meal, but we've made some slight adjustments to it to you and your calories. And that's how you would then move on to the nutrition side of things. Let's take, for example, curry, chapatis, rice, okay? Made it for all of the family. How do we align this to you personally so that you aren't mixing things up and cooking different meals and, you know, having to eat different for the family? We want you to eat with the family. We want you to set a good example for the kids, and we want them to mimic what you're doing as well and learn from you. So how would you do that? Well, it could be as simple as reducing the amount of chapatis you take, you know, reducing the amount of curry you take, adding something like Greek yogurt on the side to increase the protein in the meal, and chopping a side salad. Family meal still stays the same, but we've now aligned it to your goals. We've adjusted the calories, and it now works for you and your goals. That is how you would do the nutrition side of things, okay? So this is an easy way of taking this concept of a calorie deficit and fitting it into your life without having to go down this rigid, strict meal plan route or just sticking to salads and plain tofu and things like that. We're using this with members within our community, within Affinity, okay? And this is something that's been proven to work. And the reason that we're getting such great results with people is because they're using this method, and they're using this method long term. This is about creating lifestyle change rather than a short-term fad and fix. This now brings me nicely into my next point. The reason that you're not seeing the results that you want, even though it feels like you're trying, is because you're not consistent enough. A lot of people fall into this trap of where they work really, really hard Monday to Friday, then the weekend comes along and they're socializing, they're visiting friends, they're visiting family, and they end up blowing out. And for a lot of people, it's enough to undo the progress that they did in the week, okay? And this gives the illusion that you're working really, really hard, because for 5 out of 7 days you are, which is a big chunk of time. But then those 2 days where it's a little bit of a blowout. The final few reasons ties in to consistency. A lot of the time as human beings, we like to feel validated by what we're doing, and it may feel like you're working out really, really hard, which you probably are, but then the diet is letting you down. Or on the other side of things, you are working hard with your diet, but then the movement and the training side of things is letting you down. So for you to truly see change, it's about getting the knowledge right, filtering out the noise, as I mentioned earlier. It's then moving on to being consistent with it all and ensuring that you're not falling into this trap of being the weekday dieter, then blowing out on the weekend and starting again every Monday and living life going round on this hamster wheel. And finally, it's making sure that you're placing equal effort in all areas, especially when it comes to your nutrition. A lot of the time, people will always focus on the training element of things, and they'll do really, really well with it. But then essentially, as a validation, as almost a reward to themselves, they end up eating back everything that they've worked so hard for. So just coming to terms with that and being real with yourself when it comes to that. The biggest thing that I want you to take away from this video is it's rarely about the plan. Once you figure out the plan, you're about 70% of the way there. 30% of it comes from actually being able to stick to it and staying consistent. The majority of people out there, probably you included that's watching, knows exactly what to do when it comes to getting in shape. We don't need to reinvent the wheel over here. The biggest thing is staying consistent with it, okay? Making sure that you're doing the thing that you know that you need to be doing day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, for months on end. And that's when it becomes tough, and that's when you need to find a realistic approach. If you want to know more about how we work inside Affinity, click the link in the description, book yourself in for a free call, and we can talk you through what we do.